and Senator JD Vance. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning. We're doing well. Stayed up late last night. These speeches the headliners are coming on way too late for all of us who work these morning shows, but that's okay. We'll continue to cover it. There were a lot of vibes, lots of energy. How is this working?
You know, I don't think it's working very well, Ainsley. Obviously, I'm not the target audience here, but when you have Barack Obama, the former Democratic president of the United States, sitting there and making his big speech, and Kamala Harris is 90 miles away, I think it suggests that their party's not especially unified. Of course, we know that Barack Obama is one of the people who really forced Joe Biden out of the race to begin with. So I think the conflict is actually buried beneath the surface, but is there for all to see. And I think just for the American people, I mean, you ask yourself, what is the Democratic Party about in this country in 2024? It's clearly about their hatred of Donald Trump more than their love for America. They talked about Trump more than they talked about inflation, more than they talked about their foreign policy achievements, more than they talked about the economy. I think that suggests the thing that really unites the Democratic Party is not any shared vision for how they want to advance this country. It's their hatred of one person, a person who, by the way, took a bullet for this country just a few short weeks ago.
Yeah, JD, as Senator Vance, a couple of things that stand out. The two strong suits for you guys are immigration and the economy. And they're trying to say that when it comes to immigration, the border is now better now than it was when in the last year of the Trump administration, and that Donald Trump told everyone not to vote for that bipartisan plan that was engineered by Senator Langford and Senator Murphy. Would you have voted for it? What is the problem with it? Do you think it was a mistake not to vote for it?
Well, first of all, Brian, just on the idea that the border is somehow better, this comes from the manipulation of statistics. The reason why border crossings are a little bit lower now than they were last year is because they're flying people into the ports of entry. If you look at the total border crossings, the asylum claims, and add them all together, we are at a position at the southern border that is worse today than it has ever been in the history of this country. So they're lying with statistics. But on your question about this border deal, Brian, it was a disaster. I would not have voted for it if Donald Trump had told me you have to vote for this thing, and that's how the majority of my Republican colleagues felt. What it did was really codify the worst parts of the Biden-Harris approach to immigration. It codified catch and release. It would have done nothing on Remain in Mexico. It would have done nothing on the millions of people that Kamala Harris has granted parole, which has really blown up and opened up the American southern border. So it was a bad bill, and it would have made our border policy even worse. And the fact that the Democrats are celebrating this, Brian, instead of running from it, I think just suggests how warped their view is on immigration policy. This is not hard. Donald Trump secured the border. Kamala Harris opened it up. If we go back to his leadership, we'll have a secure southern border, and the American people are smart enough to see that.
So, Senator, I had the opportunity to be here in Chicago, talk with some voters. I've made it very clear that I feel like black males are primed for the Republicans to take. But this is what they told me about the issues facing the country. Watch.
Thing you're hearing from the Democrats are already things that they failed at over 30 years. Blacks are struggling more than any other demographic. We got the highest prison rate, highest high school dropout rate, highest murder rate. What's in it for us?
Basically, most of us, I believe, we voted Democrat because that's what we was brought up to do. You know, you go to the poll, they say vote Democrat, vote Democrat. But I don't really see no change that they say they're doing. I think it's just, to me, a whole bunch of crap, to be honest.
So will we see a Senator Vance in a barbershop? I promise you they can give you a fade.
Well, I actually need a haircut from time to time, so maybe I will show up in the barbershop, Lawrence. But look, I mean, my message to black voters in the barbershop or outside of it, Lawrence, is pretty simple here, that the argument they're making is actually very much common sense here. What they're saying is that Democratic policies have failed the black community for a generation. I mean, you know my story, Lawrence. I grew up with a grandmother who sometimes struggled to find enough to eat. I know that a lot of families families, black and white, are in that exact same situation, but grocery prices are up 20% thanks to the policies of Kamala Harris. And she stands there and says on day one she's going to make groceries more affordable. Well, day one, Kamala, was 1,300 days ago, and you haven't done anything. And I think it's so inspiring that you have those men in that barbershop who are standing up and saying, look, whatever the media propaganda has been fed to us, we have not had better lives under the policies of Democrat leadership. So we're willing to give the Republicans a chance. I think we just have to go into these communities, make the argument, and say, we're going to fight for you. We're going to fight for your wages. We're going to fight for your jobs. And we're going to fight for affordable housing and for affordable groceries for you and your children. That's what we're going to do over the next, I guess, 76 days, Lawrence.
Senator, tonight at the DNC, Nancy Pelosi is going to speak. Bill Clinton's going to speak. Pete Buttigieg is going to speak. And Tim Walz, the governor of the great state of Minnesota, is going to speak. He's their vice presidential nominee. You and he will square off on a stage somewhere and, you know, at the one vice presidential debate, which has been agreed to. Have you figured out your main plan of attack against Coach Walz?
Well, I have to point that out since you asked that, of course, Kamala Harris announced this morning that she's running from the Fox News debate. And what a disgrace it is for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to talk tough, but then to run from the American people's questions, to run from these debates. I think if you want to be the vice president or the president, you ought to do as many debates as you can, because that's an opportunity to actually talk to the American people and make your pitch to them. My approach for the one debate that it looks like I'm going to have with Tim Walz is just to keep it focused on policy. You know, this is a guy who supported the rioters in Minneapolis as they burned down that city to the ground. This is a guy who supported policies that would defund the police, that have raised the price of groceries and of energy for American families. And I just want anybody who watches that debate to come away with it with a recognition that I know what it's like to deal with some of the problems and some of the bad policies of Kamala Harris. And we're going to make things better if the American people trust us with the opportunity to do so. And so that's how I'm going to keep it focused, and that's what I'm going to focus my preparation on.
We've been watching some old clips right here on the Fox News channel of Tulsi Gabbard debating Kamala Harris when they were both running for president. I know you're preparing for the debate. It's going to be October 1st here in New York City on CBS. So how are you preparing for this? What are you doing?
You know, I'm just reading a lot about all the policies that have actually made people better under the presidency of Donald Trump, and all the policies that have made people worse under the presidency, or the vice presidency, I should say, of Kamala Harris. I mean, I think that most Americans understand that the leader of this country is either going to unleash American prosperity and restore peace to the world, or they're going to bury us further in debt, further in inflation, and further in chaos across the world. So I think, Ainsley, the best way for me to make my case to the American people is just to talk about the specifics and the details. I think political consultants assume that Americans are dumb. I assume that Americans are smart, and that if you level with them about the ways in which Kamala Harris failed and Donald Trump succeeded, that's the best way to earn their trust and to get Donald Trump back in the White House.
And I'll tell you, I know a lot of people watching us now are going to work, so they don't see it, but I've watched you do 3 or 4 press conferences during the day, small and big events. There's very few issues you're not comfortable with, and you like the give and take with people. You seem to excel at it. There's something else that's going to come up today, I'm sure, and that is RFK and a running mate are considering abandoning their campaign and possibly joining forces with you guys. What would that mean? You've looked at the stats. You've talked to the experts. You got your strategy there. Could RFK help? I know Donald Trump has said I'd put him in the cabinet.
Well, I think it would be good for the campaign, Brian, and I've never talked to RFK about this, but my pitch to him and to a lot of his voters would be the Democratic Party of my grandparents that supported his uncle, John F. Kennedy, for president has been completely abandoned by the modern leadership of the Democratic Party. I mean, that was a party that believed in strong borders. That was a party that believed in building and making things in America, that believed in a strong national security, and really believed that we were all part of the same American family. This modern Democratic Party is focused on division. It's focused on putting people into racial and gender buckets and then using those divisions for political power. And it doesn't believe in anything common sense like American manufacturing or a strong American border. So I think the current Democratic leadership has gone so far in the leftward direction, that RFK and that kind of Democrat is no longer welcome in the modern Democratic Party. I hope he, like Tulsi Gabbard, endorses the president, gets on the team, because this is about saving the country. Democrat or Republican, it's about saving the country through common sense. And unfortunately, there's only one political party that really represents common sense anymore. It's Donald J. Trump's Republican Party.
How do you guys make that pitch of, okay, you guys are great on policy. It seems like when you look at the polling data, the American people actually agree with you on policy. But there's that other element. People vote based on how they feel. And I'm not just talking about when they go to the grocery store or anything like that, but they need to connect with you. So how do you layer good policy with good feelings as well? Because that seems to be an Achilles heel of the Republican Party. Even the guys I talked to yesterday, they said, listen, they come off a little corny sometimes, a little cheesy sometimes. So how do you make being a Republican, a conservative, cool again?
Well, the way that I do it, Lawrence, and this is just my approach, is that I talk about my family and I talk about my personal history, and I try to make people understand that we care about how this country is governed because we know that real people suffer. I mean, I think if you're, a strong man at a barber shop, one of the things you believe in is that you ought to take care of people, you ought to protect people, and you ought to get American leaders in there that are going to make your community stronger and more prosperous. And so how can we better make that case than talk about the ways in which our leadership can affect the lives of real people? I mean, look, I grew up in a family where there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity. I grew up in a family, Lawrence, where we couldn't afford private security. So why did we need strong police? Because we believed that public safety was the right of every American citizen, whether you're rich or poor. A lot of American kids don't have that these days because the Democrats have decided to wage war on American police. And I think if you tick through the issues here, we just believe in common sense, and we think that if you're governed by common sense, every kid in this country, black or white, rich or poor, is going to have an opportunity at the American dream. We just got to get back to that common sense. We're going to make that argument as much as we can and see how it lands, man. That's all we can do.
A lot of people don't know about those issues, though. We've done some interviews with we call it MOS's Man on the Street. And why are you voting? We were at the fair in Iowa. Why are you voting for Kamala? Well, I don't know. I might change my mind. I don't really know what she stands for. But when you tell them the truth, when you tell the voter the truth about how high inflation is, compare Donald Trump to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. When you look at grocery prices, compare them. Gas prices, compare them. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. So you really have to, when you take the to the stage or when you do these interviews, issues. So what are you planning on doing tonight in North Carolina or today in North Carolina at the rally?
Well, Ainsley, to that point, I mean, my sympathy is with every American, of course, and a lot of people, they're not really tuned in yet. They won't cast their ballots until the day before the election, maybe on Election Day itself. And so I think it's totally reasonable for them. They've got jobs and kids to take care of. They've got a life to lead. They're not going to focus on politics until the very end. Our job, right, our responsibility, meaning Donald Trump and mine, is to actually get out there and tell them and make the case that our policies are going to make their lives better, right? So I think the fact that they're a little unsure right now is just representative of the fact that we're still early in an election cycle. They haven't yet made up their mind. And on that point in North Carolina today, we're going to talk about national security. I mean, whose children suffer the most when we have a weak national security? Those 13 Marines that died in Afghanistan, those kids very often come from middle and working class backgrounds. They would be here with us today if we just had stronger American leadership. And I think that people understand that it's very often the middle class and the working class who bear the burden when our leadership doesn't do its job. We're going to talk about that in the national security context, but we're going to talk about that in all contexts for the next 75 days and make our case to the American people every single day. And again, I think when we make our case, they hear what we're about. We're going to win this race, and we're going to win it in a big way.
And by the way, if you have some time, try to find tens of thousands of kids who this administration has lost track of that came in here as unaccompanied minors. They just have lost track. And Barack Obama brought about separating kids and families. About 80,000 kids are just missing. So that's going to be, if you guys are a win, I would love that to be your focus.
All right. Senator, thank you very much.
Senator.
Thanks for spending
so
15 minutes with us on this busy day. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.